And well, bam, 427 cubic inch, small block Chevrolet, 485-ish horsepower. Time to quit screwing around. Time to get this thing in that thing. Let's go. Welcome back to the Montana Garage. That's right, time to quit screwing around. We got to get that bad mamma jamma small block into this old junk 55 Chevy. So that means all this other stuff's got to come out. So we got some disassembly to do, some reassembly to do. We got some other big boxes over here that aren't part of the small block. So we'll talk about what all that stuff is. It's going to mean there's a few more changes other than just the engine and a little bit more work involved than just pulling that out and putting the new one in. But for the most part, small block out, small block in, all the stuff should fit the same, and we should only run into about 45, 50, 60,000 hassles and things that I can't figure out along the way, so it should be interesting. The first hassle I'm running into before I even get started on the engine swap deal is we have had a serious dose of winter here in the last couple weeks here at Montana. Except for the last couple days, it's starting to have a little tiny dose of spring. It's been, I think it was mid 40s over the weekend, and it's like 40 degrees out right now, and it's gonna be low 40s, high 30s. So we got some meltage, and whenever we get meltage, I have terrible drainage around my shop. This pad obviously needed to be a few inches higher, so we got puddles knocking on the door. It starts flowing through the walls. I get water coming in over there and on that side, and a little bit in the back. I was going to do something about that this summer, and I never did. There's really not much I can do. I'm gonna have to create some drainage or put some French drains in or something, but I never did it. And now we got all this snow, and I really don't want all this water coming in, especially now that I got sheetrock on the walls. You know, I don't want that getting all wet. I did leave the sheetrock high behind the base, but still, regardless, I don't want the water coming in here. So it's probably a losing battle, but I'm gonna throw a little pump in here and just for the next couple days, do all I can to start sucking some of this water out of here. I know it's a losing battle because look at all this snow that's still here. And the drainage is terrible. It's got nowhere to go. It all comes right to the shop. Poor engineering or designing or whatever. But it is what it is, and I haven't fixed it, so I gotta deal with it. So that's first, and then we'll get started on the old engine swap. Pump, it be a pumping. Like I said, it's probably a losing battle, but we're squirting some water over there where it'll drain that way. And I probably need about 4 of these to really make a dent, but I got one, just one. So we'll just leave her running while we're out here whenever there's water to drain and or water to pump. And hopefully we can keep up with it enough to keep it out of the shop here, but I'm not very optimistic. So that said, let's get to work on this bad boy, huh? Obviously there's a couple different ways I could do this. You know, should I pull the motor and trans together or separately? Or I guess maybe you could leave the trans in there, but I don't really think you could do that with automatic or with a manual transmission and get the transmission lined up on the engine. So I don't think leaving the transmission in would be an option, but you could pull them either together or separately. I am probably going to separate them because I don't want to take the whole front end apart, and I'm definitely not cutting my core support. And without taking that all apart, I think really all I gotta do is get the hood off. If I take them apart separately, I can just, you know, pluck the engine straight out pretty much. Obviously the radiator will come out of the way. A bunch of stuff's gotta come loose. But I'm gonna take the transmission out down through the bottom so I don't have to take the front sheet metal apart. It might, I don't know, some people will tell me it'd be easier just to take this off, but it was kind of a pain getting it all lined up, and it really shouldn't be that big a deal, I don't think, to do it this way. So that's what I'm gonna do. Right or wrong, I don't know, that's why I'm gonna try it. So we gotta get a bunch of stuff taken apart. We got exhaust, we got, you know, drive lines and transmissions, and you guys know the deal. But like I said, I'm gonna try to fire this up first. I'm a little curious about this antifreeze leak I got going on here, but I don't know if it's coming out of this. Looks to me like it's coming out of the gasket. So anyways, regardless, we'll just sop that up. We'll go ahead and fire it up one more time just for the, you know, the fish, just for the halibut. And then probably, I think I kind of like where it's at. We'll put her on the ramps I have so she's a little taller. And then I don't have any help with me here today to get the hood off, maybe later tonight, but there's lots to do before then. I'll crawl underneath and start taking the transmission apart and the, you know, all the stuff underneath, and then we can come up here and pull the carburetor and the distributor and the radiator. And there's plenty of stuff to do before we actually need the hood out of the way and stick the old engine lift in there. So let's get started with that. Hopefully we can get this out of there today, maybe not, and then we can talk about what's going back in. I got goodies. All right, we'll see if she'll start up. Sop up this antifreeze. Oh, I got got a microphone now. Can you guys hear me a little better when I'm away from the camera like this? I'm hoping it works out. Let me know what you think. Kind of sopping it up and kind of just making a mess with it, but I guess there's going to be a huge mess here in another few minutes anyway, so big deal. I'll pull this guy off because I'm guessing I'm going to have to mess with the choke a little bit. Make sure she's got some oil in her, and she does. I have no idea if the battery is dead or alive. See, this has got an automatic choke that's not hooked up, so I had to jam it closed last time somehow. We will just try to start it open, but I don't know if it's going to start open. First step, battery juice. Your trolley. All right, let's see. We got fuel pumpage. So we got some battery. Yeah, that's what I remember last time. It was kind of cold. I don't remember what I did. Use some sort of screwdriver to jam the linkage closed. See what we can break with that trick. Huh. Yeah, the choke is mostly closed. Get it all the way closed. Gonna run out of battery juice. All right, well, I guess I just wanted to hear her run one last time. Too much snow in the driveway, we can't drive it. Guess it still works, let's break it. Kind of works. Same day, new sweatshirt. I took my cubic inch Envy sweatshirt off that my wife made me because it's still pretty clean and I don't want to destroy it. So my wife made that, and she also she's making some canned koozies. Well, bam. And we might start trying to sell some of that stuff or have some merch. She's working on a couple other ideas. So if you're interested in either of those items I just showed you or any of the future merch we might have available, just leave me a comment or shoot me an email. You can get on the waiting list for if and when we start trying to sell some of that stuff. No guarantees yet. We're trying to figure out how it all works and if it's worthwhile, which it's probably not. But if you're interested, let me know. Anyways, back to the project. I haven't got anything done because I've been fighting with the stupid water pump situation outside all day. I've been keeping up with it, but the water pump keeps like stopping working. I go out there and jiggle it, and then the hose kinks itself, and I got to go on, kink it, and walk through the foot of snow out to where the hose is draining out there. You can't see nothing through the shiny window there, but trust me, it's been a pain, and it's kept me from really doing much. I got the car jacked up, and I use my handy dandy little angle finder here, well, bam, to crawl under there and try to get an angle measurement on the drive shaft. It's pretty hard to do because, hard to show you. I'm not gonna go under there to show you, but the drive shaft is obviously round and it's angled, but like say this is round. So if you put it on one spot of the round, it says 2.0, but then if you angle it a little differently, it just, you know, the numbers change. So imagine this was a drive shaft. Unless you could replicate having it exactly the same, I don't know, there's gotta be a better way, but I couldn't really get a good drive shaft angle, but I did get a good measurement on where the transmission's sitting right now. And the reason I'm kind of curious about or worried about taking those measurements is because once I take all this stuff out of there, the transmission and the gear vendor, it's not going back in. I currently don't have any kind of weird vibrations or anything, so somehow I got lucky when I set the pinion angle or whatever. So I'm just trying to kind of measure that and check and see if I can replicate it, because like I said, the gear vendor's not going back in. I'm switching to a Tremec TKX. We're going 5-speed, baby. I really did like the gear vendor. I thought it was pretty cool and it seemed like it worked pretty good, and just having that overdrive was awesome. But once I added the power of the small block, my T10 transmission, which was already sketchy and needing some work, everybody's telling me that that wasn't designed to hold that power. It didn't have low enough of a first gear. It already had some issues. So I needed to do something different with the transmission since I went with a bigger motor. My initial thoughts or plans were just to find a Muncie or a different 4-speed. But again, then you're looking at, can they handle that power? So then I was kind of researching like a more modern 4-speed, what was it called? An Auto Gear M23, which is basically just a newer, beefier Muncie kind of design from what I understand. I found a decent used one, but I don't remember the exact number, but they wanted like $4,000 for that thing. And then to make the gear vendor work, I needed to buy a new adapter. You can put that gear vendor on any transmission, but the piece that goes between the transmission and the gear vendor is going to be different per application. So it's going to cost another $1,000 to get the gear vendor adapter. And then then I'd be back to the 4-speed with the gear vendor. And for about the same price, I could just go with the TKX. So that's what I decided to do. I talked to a lot of people that have these things. They're happy with them. It's going to give me a little bit higher or lower, I don't know how you say it, overdrive, lower, a better cruising gear. It'll have a much lower first gear for launching off the line, and easier, better shifting. So anyways, it was, a little bit more money, a lot more money. I mean, it wasn't a lot more than keeping the gear vendor, but, just this whole adding a little power to the 55 has, none of this stuff was cheap, let's say. This was never really a budget build, but I was trying to keep it reasonable by using, the old engine, the old transmission. But after a summer of driving it and trying to race it, that just wasn't going to work for me. So we need more power, and that's what we got to do. So we got to spend a little bit of money to get a little more power. Now we got to stop jaw-jacking and get to work. So I kind of wrote down what I needed to know for the angles, because obviously with the Tremec going in there, the drive shaft's going to be longer. I got to do the transmission mount's going to move. I just want to try to keep all them angles, so we get it back to, I got to get the pinion angle right again. So hopefully I can get the transmission right without having to move the rear end and get everything lined up. So anyways, I was doing a little figuring for that, and now we can start tearing shiz apart. I guess I better unhook this battery. I do have that kill switch on it, so the only thing that's hot when it's turned off is a wire going up to the alternator, but with my luck I'd forget about that wire and unhook the alternator and start something on fire, screw something up. So safety first, sometimes. I don't know much of this under car stuff I'll show you, but we're going to start under here, and we got to take take the drive shaft out, drive shaft loop, try to get some of the exhaust out of the way. We're going to drain the gear vendor, pan under here, and then we'll pull the gear vendor off, and from there we can start messing with the transmission, the cross member, and that sort of thing. So like I say, I think the first thing we'll do is drain the gear vendor. I haven't put enough miles on this thing to have to change it, but so I've never drained it, but I think it's this little guy right here, maybe. I don't know how far this is gonna come squirting out of here. Trying to get the washer back with it, so when I yank it out of there, it comes too. It's a long one, still coming. All right, so we'll let that drain for a minute and pull the drive shaft off. And like I said, we got a bunch of stuff to do under here. Nothing real fun, and it's hard to see. So we'll talk about it when we're done. Here's progress so far. Mufflers, drive shaft loop. Seems like there was something else I did. Anyways, that's probably about it, I guess. Messed with the water a little bit more. Now we're ready to pull the little gear vendor unit off, and then I will probably put a block under the oil pan to kind of support the back of the motor, remove the transmission cross member, and I think once that's out of the way with the mufflers gone, I can get to the shifter linkage and everything. I'm going to go ahead and try to pull that shifter off there because it just makes it so much easier to get that down out of there. Yeah, then we'll be ready to move up top and start taking stuff apart. I'm going to go eat some dinner, and hopefully I'll be back out tonight. If not, tomorrow. I mean, someday. Someday I'll get this done. We found our first of what I can only assume will be many struggles. I got the little nuts off the gear vendor unit here that goes all the way around. And it should just come out of there at that point, but she is like solid as a rock. Made me think I was forgetting a bolt or a nut or something, but they're all off of there on the other side too. They did say in the instructions to put a little Permatex or sealant on this gasket, and I can see that I did do that. And so I think it's just glued together. So far I've tried the old, try to kill it with the red hammer trick, and that hasn't done much. Of course, I'm scared to hit it real hard, but I don't know. Now I got to figure out something else to do to try to get this pried loose. Anybody got any good ideas? All right, a couple good pops with the old red hammer, and I broke her loose. There might be a little fluid left in this bad boy still. It's heavier than I thought it was, if I remember right. See, I think there's pull this shaft out of here too. That should be full of spacers in there. Whew. All right, that's all she wrote for the gear vendor. On to the transmission. Transmission and gear vendor, exhaust, drive shaft, pretty much everything that I need to do from the bottom of the car is done. Well, I mean, for the disassembly part, I still have, I got to put it all back in there, or, that's not going back in because that's going in. Anyways, so we're pretty much done on the bottom side of the car, except for I got to crawl under there and pick up all my fasteners and my tools, try to keep everything somewhat organized so I can, put it back together. Now we need to move up here to the top end and take apart whatever up here that needs taken apart, which is pretty much everything, obviously. But I think that's going to be a task for tomorrow. It's getting kind of late, and got some other stuff I got to get done tonight. So we're going to head in the house, but we'll back out tomorrow, and we should be able to get all this stuff. It'll be pretty easy to get. I mean, there's not much to it, really. Take a few things apart, drain the fluid, and then we can pull that thing out, so long as I got somebody around that can help me take the hood off. If not, maybe I'll try to figure it out myself, but hopefully somebody will help me with that, and we'll get this thing yanked out of here tomorrow. Next day, we're back to try to keep on getting that thing out of there. I'm gonna start with trying to maybe find a hose I can use, help drain the radiator and make a teeny tiny bit less of a mess than if I just, open the drain with nothing. So we'll see if this is gonna work. I think it's worked before, it just depends on if I can find the right hose. Looks like this stuff might do the trick. I already have a little antifreeze to deal with here from spitting out of the 57 engine, so I'll find a bucket to dump that in, and then I'll use my handy dandy, that's actually like a paint roller pan, but it's the best pan I have for catching at least some of the antifreeze. So let's get to draining. I guess means I got the hose trick, I'm just gonna go the holes right in the bucket. We'll get started with that. All right, slowly but surely, we got drainage. Got the radiator drained. Now I'll throw this pan under there so I can catch some of it when we unclamp the hoses and make that mess. Probably catch a little teeny tiny bit of it at least. All right, so hoses, radiator. I don't know which order I'm doing this in. Everything's got to come off, right? Not everything, most things. So radiator, carburetor, alternator, distributor. Looks like I'll probably pull that wiper motor so it's not in the way. All sorts of fun to be had. I guess we just will start with this radiator, get it out of the way, and get our mess made first. If I can get this hose off here, it's always a bugger. Pressure just lets this one on. think I will do that. I'll leave that one there so let it leak out of there for a little while.
I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time. Got no filter, I got no filter. 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 No filter, I got no filter.
All right, we're gaining on it. I'm gonna pull, if I could reach them. Obviously these plug wires all gotta come off of here. I'm gonna hope I can reuse them. Small block Chevy, you should be able to, right? But the other motor, our engine, has aluminum heads and it has angle plugs. These plugs are going in the head straight. Those ones are angle. So it could change them just a little bit. I did get a new set of plug wires with the new engine. But it came with it. I had to get an ignition system when I bought the engine. So it came with an MSD distributor and some new plug wires, but it looks like they're just a universal set of plug wires. And I've already used one of these MSD universal for a small block plug wires. And the wires are all way too long. So hopefully I can just reuse these. If not, I guess worst case, I'll have to try to, maybe I can get just new ends so I can cut down the universal ones. We'll figure it out. Hopefully these ones will work. Come off of there now, come on. Kind of got the wrong angle going on here. That one didn't want to play nice. Headers on small block Chevys are a pain. They get in the way of everything. Another one I can't really get to. All right, I'll have to get from over there. So I'm gonna take the plug wires and the cap off. I'm gonna pull all the plugs. I guess I still I'm gonna take the headers off, and it looks like I got some clutch linkage to mess with. And then we're gonna do before I pull it, while I still have wiring and everything hooked up, I'm gonna do a compression check on this one. I did it during Big Sky Race Week, and there was a couple cylinders that were a little low, and there was 1 or 2 cylinders I couldn't get to. So once the headers are gone, I can get to all the cylinders with the compression tester, and we'll just do that just for future, just so we can see, like I said, it's down a little in a couple cylinders, if I remember right. Kind of give us an idea what's going on, if we want to tear into this, or if we're just going to use it as is in another project.
Small talk with your narcissistic neighbor. She's real hot, but they said to never date her. I agree, but you did, and I hate her. You want to get away? You better get in line. Won't go another day of wasting any time. I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time. Got no filter, I got no filter. No filter.
Okay, now I can't remember if I can get this thing out of here. I probably got to take the starter off. I wanted to leave the starter on, like I said, to do it. No. Looks like without the starter, it'd go down. We got some steering. I don't want to unhook the steering. All right, well, so much for that compression checker thing. We'll do that on the stand or something somewhere else, because the starter's got to come off. Dang it. We're getting there. Headers are out, both sides. Well, I guess this side, that header's still in there. I can't get it out. I think if the oil filter wasn't there, it would slide out of there. I'm probably just going to leave it sitting like that, and then, once the engine's out, then it'll come out. I was hoping it would come out of there because I want to see if the new ones will slide in, but I'm going to guess the new ones will fit in there. I got new headers. I don't know if I said that earlier, but I don't know if they'll fit in. I assume they're going to fit in, if the oil filter wasn't there. In worst case, we got to disconnect some steering down there, but I'm just probably going to leave it like that. Once the engine lifts up, then that can go down out of the way. The only things that I think we have left, I got a copper oil pressure line back there, and then I forgot to do this temperature sensor, and now I don't have my bucket. I guess I can put my bucket back under there. I already dumped it out. Hopefully not too much more. Shouldn't really come out of there, but a little's probably going to come out of there. It tends to usually happen, I think. I mean, I guess really it shouldn't, but Yeah, and it didn't. All right, so this guy will go over here out of the way somewheres. And we need trade bigger wrenches for, let's see, that's probably a 3/8, right? Have I used everything except a 3/8? I've probably used a 3/8 on something. Where did I put it? I don't see a 3/8 on my little table. 3/8 from the other day. Now I gotta figure out, I'm gonna reach it. I can't quite get there from here. And again, hopefully this leak drip out a little bit of oil, but it shouldn't be that big a deal. Plunk it up here for now. And bam, I think we're down to 2 motor mount bolts. 1 on each side, obviously. And we got to get the hood off of here, and I'm gonna see if my son can maybe come over later and help me take that off, and then maybe I can come out later tonight and yank that thing out of there. Once we get it out of there, I got to figure out, I'll have to just kind of set it on the ground. I don't know if I got any old tires. I have to look. I gotta have something to kind of set it on, some blocks of wood or something to get the bell housing off of there. I mean, I guess I could take it off from down there, but I'll think about that. It'd be a lot easier up here, but is that, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna have to have the bell housing on there when I put it back in. So I'm gonna leave the bell housing on there when I take it out, just to make sure I can get it around the bar and everything. So once we get it out, we gotta take the bell housing off, because the bell housing goes on the new motor. And with the TKX transmission, you got to do all the dial in your bell housing thing with the offset dowel pins and shims. And so we'll have to start figuring that out once we get that out. Next day, my son came over yesterday and helped me take the hood off, threw it over there on top of the 57. And then I had to spend this morning doing a little bit of work, and then I just spent some time loading up stuff. I got to start a new bigger tile job tomorrow, so I was loading up a bunch of tools, dealing with my little flood out there. And now half the day's gone, but I got a little bit of time to try to get this thing out of here. I've been hemming and hawing about how I want to do this. So I'm here by myself. I would rather not destroy and scratch the heck out of my firewall and everything. And then the other thing I don't really like is, I hate the fact that I have to use this in the last hole. Now, I don't know what brand this engine train is. I got it off some guy from Marketplace or whatever, but it says it's good for a 1/2 ton out here. That's 1,000 pounds. I'm good at math. And then, you know, this probably weighs 500 or 600 pounds is what I've been, you know, my research tells me. My shipping crate over there said it was a 500 pound or 515 pound shipping thing. It's got aluminum heads, no flywheel and stuff on it. So this is probably closer to 600 if that was really 515. Anyways, so that should be good. Still makes me nervous. So then I thought, well, if I lower it down, if I put the car back on the ground, then maybe the lip here, it hits right here, so I can't get any closer to shorten that up. But if I lower it down, it might go underneath it, and then we might be able to get to the next notch. I don't know. Probably doesn't matter. 1/2 ton, it should work, right? I worry about stuff that I don't need to worry about. The other thing I've never used one of these lift plates from the carburetor. I've always put a chain across the top, you know, like intake bolts, or even in the head or whatever. So aluminum intake, so I was a little nervous about that, but I don't know, the internet tells me you could even do big blocks like this, not a big deal. So long as all the threads are good, we should be good there. So I don't know, also, obviously I don't have like a leveling bar. I'm gonna get some straps out if I need to, but it's gonna, probably with the weight on the back, it's gonna tilt down, but that's what I need because I don't really have enough room to get it out of there, and I don't wanna scratch this, I don't wanna scratch that, and I don't have anybody here to, you know, like keep it in control. So, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I think what I've decided to do, I'll change my mind 12 more times, is I wanted to leave the bell housing, or I didn't really want to leave the bell housing and stuff on there. It's just kind of a pain in the butt to take off from underneath. And when I put the new engine in, I'm going to have the bell housing on because I have to do the, you know, the dial indicating on the bell housing and get it all in the right place. I don't want to do that under there, obviously. So I'm going to do that, you know, out here somewhere. So the bell housing and everything will be on when I put the new small block in. But I mean, I think it should realistically fit with that, and I should be able to get it out with that too. But being I don't have anybody here to help me, I think I'm going to crawl underneath and struggle and take the bell housing and maybe even the clutch and pressure plate and flywheel and everything off, just so it's like a little, you know, a little more compact package. Then it's pretty much just a straight lift, and so long as I can kind of, maybe I'll put a strap on it to try to hold on to it while I'm jacking. I just don't want it to scratch everything up, and whatever, just an old race car, right? But still, I spent a lot of time trying to get this nice-ish, so we'd rather not destroy it if we don't have to. So a little extra work maybe, and then I'll have to do some figuring. Like I said, when I put it back in, I'll have all that stuff on there, but maybe I'll have somebody here to help me, and then I'll kind of know at that point, I can kind of see how the engine's going to angle and dangle and everything. And I think that'll just be, it seems safer to me, maybe a little less weight for my little half-ton thing and the smaller package. So I'm going to crawl under there, and it's got the scatter shields. There's like 35,000 bell housing bolts, and some of them are, you know, double, you got to get to the backside. Some of them got to use an Allen wrench for. So I'll crawl under there and fight with all that and cuss and scream for a little. It's really not that bad. It's not fun, but I had to do it before, so I'm sure I can do it again. So yeah, let's get that off there, and then we can see what kind of damage we can do by lifting this out of here. Well, I got the bell housing and the pressure plate off, but I can't hold the engine in place good enough to loosen the flywheel bolts. They're too tight on there. I got this screwdriver jammed in here to try to keep the crank from turning, but all it does is lift the engine up, gets to kind of the max point of liftage, and this thing wants to come out of there, and it just don't come loose. I'm going to try to get some sort of little cheater bar on here. Let's try one more thing. Whew, a little more leverage with the breaker bar. I got 3 of them. One more. Whew. Now that we got all that stuff out of the way and our package is a little bit smaller, hopefully we can avoid destroying everything. Probably not, but I figured, what the heck, we'll take that stuff off there. Maybe I'll try to throw a towel or something over the backside and put some tape on this guy and hope for the best. I have 2 motor mount bolts, and it looks like I have a ground strap in the way, and then we will see what happens. Wish me luck. So I think we're ready. Got a little bit of tension on here, and I'm just trying to get these motor mount bolts out. I need a little most of the way out. Let's see what happens on this one. All right, well, that one came out easy peasy. Both motor mount bolts are out. Oh shoot, I was gonna go find a strap in case well, without the bell housing and clutch on there, I'm thinking it should kind of balance, kinda. I was gonna grab a strap in case I needed to like strap it to the crane somehow to keep it tilted one way or the other. All right, well, so the crane's got it, and crane didn't break yet. Losing a little more fluid all of a sudden. Shocker, not really. There goes our header. Give myself a little room to the firewall here. Now, hopefully we get high enough, I guess. The next problem. Just taking a peek back here. Looks like we're doing pretty good. I don't know why I hate doing stuff like this. It just makes me nervous. I'm always afraid something's gonna fall or break. I did drop this thing one time, a long time ago. Just a little ways. I can't remember what happened. I was using a chain across the intake and pulled out the chain on one end and it flopped down and thought it hit my fender, but I don't know. That was a long time ago. Almost high enough. Now we got to be able to move it without swinging and banging into everything. All right. Hung up on something. Probably shouldn't get under too much. I just want to drag front end that way. Push the front end that way, maybe. Guess that don't want to happen. Hey, I'm over here now. Of course, I got stuff in the way. Guess if I just move some stuff out of the way, that would probably help. And we can get through there without banging it into the fender. We don't really want to do that. All right, now we got to be able to let it down slow. How's that gonna work out? A little nervous on that deal too. Guess there's not much I can do other than give her the onion. One thing about it, guys always got to make a mess, but not a big deal. We got some radiator fluid cleanup. Now we got a big empty hole here. I think that's a wrap on Tri-5 Chevy engine, transmission, and gear render removal. We've got everything out of there, and I don't think I even destroyed anything. It took me a little longer than I thought. You know, I only have a couple hours each night messing around out here. So anyways, we got her done. We have to get some stuff cleaned up in here. We're gonna, you know, before we put everything back together, we'll hop in here and wipe everything down, wash it all up. Well, the only thing we're reusing from what we removed, I guess this little box of goodies, most of that stuff will go back in, the fan, the pulleys, alternators, that sort of stuff. So see if anything that needs cleaned up. And then the bell housing, hopefully I'm gonna reuse. I'm told that the Lakewood bell housings are hard to get indexed and, you know, installed to within spec for the TKX transmission. So we're gonna clean that up and then we'll start messing with that here pretty soon. And we'll find out, hopefully, that it's gonna work and I don't have to spend 800 bucks on another bell housing. But I think we'll do all that stuff in the next video. We'll call this one here. We got everything removed and ready to go the other direction. So I'm gonna try to keep these videos a little bit shorter and get them out a little more often to you guys. So appreciate you watching. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Come back next time and we'll start putting all the horses right there.